Hi, my name is Randy Russ with Ashland Industries. I'm up here at the K-Tec factory in Canada, and we're going to do a walk-around video of the 2011E ejector scraper. 28 cubic yards, 11 foot width of cut. It's the only machine of this capacity under a 12-foot transport width. So let's do a little walk around and show you about what this machine makes it so special. At the front of the scraper, we have the 360-degree swivel hitch. Now, this is the only area that requires daily grease zerks. We have 2 on the horizontal hitch pin here, 2 on the horizontal pin, and 2 on the vertical pin. And that's the only daily greasing you need to do on this machine. What makes this hitch so very special, it can accommodate many different tractor drawbars by simply removing this nut, slipping in a yoke to receive a 2-inch pin, or say for instance, a customer has a 60mm John Deere pin, we can slip in a different yoke. So this gives you really flexibility for those customers with many different drawbars. Now, one of the things that K-Tec's been using for a number of years, and we're certainly enjoying this, is this hydraulic hose hanger. These 3/4 inch hoses are very heavy, which puts a lot of stress and strain on the couplers. By having the system coming up here and be supported with a spring-loaded control, carries that weight, so you don't see accidental hose separation from the tractor couplers. Now, the front section is part of our modular design. Between all 4 models, we share this common component. In fact, it's the same pole that K-Tec uses on the multiple larger machines we have. So really what you need to have the structural strength of this front section. And having a 16-inch diameter front section of pipe handles all the stress and strain of a scraper being loaded going down a haul road. The thing we want to try to do is control the amount of stress that you introduce in the machine. And what we utilize is a trunnion mount cylinder. Let me explain. We have a trunnion mount cylinder that moves very close to the front section pipe, but more importantly, what we want to try to do is move this machine vertically with a vertical mounted cylinder. Some of the competition, they'll run the cylinder on the outside or perhaps on the front section pipe, running the scraper horizontally to raise the machine vertically. And what you'll find with that, it's a little slower to respond, but probably more importantly, say for instance you need a dozer to push this. If you're pushing this thing with a dozer and you got a cylinder running this way, you can introduce all that hydraulic stress with the dozer pushing it back into the tractor's hydraulics. Much faster, greater control, able to keep that load boiling in the scraper when you're loading. Now, these next generation machines, we want to make sure they loaded very easily, and we did that by moving the connecting point onto the scraper bowl very close to the ground, just above the blade. And what we find with that, by having that low draft point, when we put the blade in the ground, we don't see the weight come out the back end. So this really improved the loadability of this machine. Well, now that we're inside the scraper, we put the apron lock up in here, but let me tell you about the loadability of the machine. So first of all, I want to kind of point out the area here. We got the lift cylinder mounted right up front, very close to the front section here. But what we want to do is have very quick blade response so you can keep that dirt coming in and boiling. Looking at the blades now, as you'll see, we have the 3-piece blade set, which has the center blade being slightly longer than the corner bits. Now that allows the material to come being loaded in the middle of the scraper much quicker and faster, as well as make the heat payload in the middle of the scraper much higher. What you'll notice is the floor sits very flat to the ground. When this material gets cut, it's able to enter the scraper and get to the back. Now, more important than getting the scraper to load very easily, getting unload even easier. Now, Ashland K-Tec's been a big believer in an amazing fall zone. And what a fall zone is from the bottom of the apron is fully raised to the blade. The next thing we need to do is get the front section, lift cylinders, out of this area, so when you get that 28 cubic yards of material falling out, it's not falling on frame members. But more importantly is the ground clearance underneath the blade. Now, this is especially true for guys top loading with bulky material. As the dirt comes out, we need to be able to clear the blade and get you good ground clearance. Now, sometimes when you have the ejector wall forward, sometimes the dirt can be leaning against the push-off. What we did on these scrapers, you see the profile has more of a vertical bend for the first third of it, then it leans back. And this really helps the material to fall out of the scraper because you don't have the ability for that material just to lean across this back end. On the back side of the push-off, we have our steel flow roller. There's a fiber bushing inside that. It really requires no greasing at all. Then moving up, we have the hold-on plastic slide block that guides this thing forward to prevent the material from building up on the floor. A very similar type of block is used on the rear tail to guide this thing forward. Now we're at the back of it. Let's talk about the tilting headache rack for top loading. Simply by removing a bolt, you can move this thing back for top loading, increase capacity and productivity. So coming around the back, you'll see we have the 4 23.5 by 25 radial tires on the back end. Now guys, what makes this machine so special is each tire has its own hub and axle, which gives it greater flotation and softer condition. It allows material to get around one tire before the other tire picks up on that muddy condition. Now, if you want to put them in line, we have the boltable hole systems here. You kind of put the tires in line or different types of configurations. Now, if you want to double your capacity, remove this optional push bar, put on a rear quick hitch system to allow you to pull a John Deere, an Ashland, or even a K-Tec scraper, a very universal hitch by simply adding the hydraulics and the rear quick hitch on the back end. Now, the other thing we did on these scrapers, we improved the pin system. As you can see on the apron pivot pins, the front section, we have it retained on the outside with this hex head washer, but on the inside we have a 3-cap screw to hold this pin in place. Now, what makes this machine so special, an 11-foot width of cut to be under a 12-foot transport, to have a 28 cubic yard machine, it's very unheard of. And how do we do that? By utilizing high-strength hard-ox steel on the side frame and many other parts of the machine. It allows us to put all this framework and all these connection points and make very narrow. Now, this is the only scraper that's on the market today to be this capacity and reduce your mobilization cost by being under 12-foot transport width. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video on the 2811 ejector scraper. Now, if you have any questions about this scraper or any other scrapers that we have at Ashland Industries, please visit our website at ashlandind.com or call us toll-free 877-634-4622.